Good afternoon, everyone. We are delighted to bring back the Teachers of Tomorrow chat show after a long pause. And what better occasion than World Environment Day to reignite our conversations with purpose and passion, making this the perfect moment to reflect on how education, through the thoughtful guidance of educators and other torchbearers, can plant the seed of sustainability in every child's heart. Our chat show today, titled Eco Ecos Voices for a Greener Tomorrow, is more than a conversation. It is a collective reflection on how classrooms can become catalysts for environmental consciousness, where students not just learn about the earth, but learn to care for it, protect it, and advocate for its well being. Over the next 1 hour, we'll explore how schools can, and in many cases already do, embed sustainability into daily learning through real world experiences, creative innovations, and purposeful leadership. I'm delighted to be joined by three inspiring guest speakers who bring with them a wealth of experience and commitment to both teaching and environmental responsibilities. Let us begin by meeting our speakers for today. Today with us, we have Ms. Vandana Arora, head of Nahar International School. We welcome you, ma'am.
Thank you.
So Ms. Vandana brings over 25 years of experience in education and holds degree in geography, economics, and education. As the founding head of Nahar International School, she promotes inclusive, progressive learning. Trained in IGCSE and IB programs, she integrates sustainability and equity into the curriculum, encouraging students to engage with real-world environmental issues. Now, moving on to another remarkable leader who has been instrumental in weaving sustainability into the very fabric of school life, let me introduce Ms. Devika Chatterjee. Ma'am, we welcome you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. So, Ms. Devika Chatterjee is a director principal at JCBN International School, Borivali, Mumbai. And she comes with 25 years of experience in education and has led top schools under IB, Cambridge, and Indian boards. She is trained at Harvard and IIM Kolkata. And as the founding principal of JCBN Mumbai, she has aligned the school's ethos with the United Nations Sustainable Developmental Goals, embedding environmental values into learning and community projects. And now bringing in the voice of someone who works at the intersection of education and environmental action across the country, let me introduce Ms. Tushita Rawat. Tushita, we welcome you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Welcome. She's a program manager, environment education at Center for Science and Environment at New Delhi. And Tushita has over a decade of experience in sustainability education, and she holds a bachelor's in education from the University of Delhi and a master's in gender studies from Ambedkar University. At Center for Science and Environment, she leads national programs that empower schools to adopt eco-friendly practices and embed climate literacy through hands-on student-led initiatives. So now let us begin with our first section. So Ms. Devika, as Director Principal, how did you go about transforming your school environment into a green learning space, not just the classroom, but the entire campus?
Hi, good evening, and thank you for that wonderful introduction. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
It's great to talk about a topic which is very, very close to our hearts, I think, and that is something that we try to spread. The voice of one environmentalist can probably be echoed across not just the school, the corridors, the classrooms, but also the whole community that we live in. We start small, but I do believe that iterative steps can be taken, starting with that one step in each classroom. And it is not just about making our schools green. It is the green school is not really a physical space. It is more of a culture that needs to grow in every classroom, in every child, in every teacher, every conversation, because that is when it moves out of the school and it starts having some impact in the world around us. Uh, We do it in many, many different ways, and we have done it for so many years now. It has become a part of every conversation that happens. So if you walked out, and I love this conversation, it happened a few years back. I am on the floor where we have junior KG learners, and I saw one in the washroom one day, and he refused to go back to his classroom. And I said, "Why are you not standing here in the washroom?" I am an eco warrior. He's learned that word, obviously, because he's heard it all over the school at some time or the other. I am an eco warrior. I'm standing here to remind everybody that they need to use less water to wash their hands. So he's decided, junior KG child, not even 5 years old, he has decided that he is an eco warrior. And I think that is where the culture can be seen. It becomes a part of our everyday ethos, it becomes a part of our everyday conversation. Because when they go out into the world and talk to their parents, they talk to their friends, they spread the same message. The Green Classroom initiative is also something that happens every day in the classroom. For example, we have projects in our primary classrooms. Children decided that they are going to measure the amount of food that is wasted every day. And they did it for 6 weeks. It was a 6 week long project. They weighed the food that was actually, and they had groups of children, grade 5 children. This was a grade 5 project, who went to different floors. They put up scales and they measured the food that was wasted. They spoke about their findings. So it was proper data based presentation for the rest of the school, where they say that this is the amount of food that is being wasted on each floor. They also identified the floor and the classroom which had the maximum food wastage. And then they started talking about and spreading the message of why we don't. So they created these handmade posters. They put it up on the doors of the neighboring classrooms saying that if we waste food like this is what the consequences can be. And the change that we want to bring about will happen because of this message. There was a perceptible change in the amount of food that was wasted in the school. So the environment that you're talking about doesn't just
That's
leave the
That's a
classrooms. It
powerful example of leadership, shaping learning, where the school itself become a silent teacher. That's very nice. So, next question I will be just posing it to Miss Vandana. What were some unexpected benefits of turning classrooms into green zones beyond environmental learning?
Miss Tripti, first of all, thank you very much for giving us this opportunity to talk about how we look at environment and how we develop culture of environmental learning in our school. For us, it definitely starts from looking at curriculum. Working very strongly with teachers to um, guide them into how they can connect their subject and in what areas they can bring quality education. For us, quality education means there is an education where you think beyond what you see, where you question what you see. And when that happens, then children very easily start questioning. For example, how Ms. Devika was sharing, in our primary classroom, when teachers talk about responsible consumption, when they talk about responsible way of living or well-being and good health, it starts with what is it that I eat every day. And um, and when that kind of discussion happen, it's very natural to flow in an idea of, do we eat vegetables, do we eat fruits, and if we do, where is it that we grow them? And we stay in urban areas where our children don't see these things growing. So it leads to then naturally projects where they are being encouraged to grow. So it starts with grade 1 and 2 starting their kitchen garden. And when they started their kitchen garden in an EVS class,
Yeah.
the unexpected aspect of learning was that they were thrilled to see some small tomatoes growing. They were excited to measure the length of the plant which was growing there. They were excited to pluck these tomatoes or these lady fingers and then say, can we go in cafeteria and we make a salad or we cook and we eat it? So it gets so embedded in their way of thinking that they go back home and they ask their parents is, I would like to eat this because this is very exciting to grow and naturally developing a taste of a healthy meal.
Absolutely.
So that's an unexpected thing. We thought they will create a green school, they will create a kitchen garden, and they will see it as a form of education which is teaching them towards quality living. But now they are bringing quality living at home. They are changing the culture of their home and not asking for trendy things, but things which are naturally healthy for them. So we also see this as a benefit from benefit in form of parents coming and sharing with us is like, I don't have a problem now to teach my child healthy eating because it's coming from school and it's reaching to a sustainable form of living in these kids who are in grade 1, 2, 3, 4. When they will be adults, they will naturally like sustainable living, right? You don't have to tell them that what is the difference between an unsustainable living and a sustainable living.
Yes, so that's a reminder that green learning is not ecological, it's deeply human. Yes. So, next question to Ms. Tushita, that based on your experience with diverse school settings, what's a model of green classroom culture that you wish more schools would adopt?
Thank you for the question, Dr. Singh. I might just exceed my allotted time for this one because I want to listen from our attendees here. So, a very happy World Environment Day to everybody present here. But I know the group that is currently listening to us is the one that believes that every day is an Environment Day. You are at it every day. So, kudos to you on that. I'm not sure how many of you have heard of the Green Schools program by Center for Science and Environment, but we work with schools, and that is where most of my examples and my best practices, whatever I'm going to be sharing today, comes from. So when we talk about green classrooms or green schools, infrastructure is the first thing usually that comes to our mind, as Devika ma'am already mentioned. But a green classroom culture, I think, can exist anywhere. It's not dependent on the amount of resources a school has. I would say that a green classroom has a mix of four key things. One is infrastructure, of course, we've already discussed. Another is pedagogy, which is essential to inculcate skills and competence in students so that they're able to take action. Third, I think, is behavior, the changes, behavioral changes, and the nudges that we give to students. And last is student engagement, how actively they're taking part in their own learning. I will pose a question next to all of you, and would be great to have your responses on this. So, in a green classroom, what could infrastructure mean? What is your perception of green infrastructure in a classroom? If you could respond in the chat box, and I'll take a couple of responses and move ahead. Green infrastructure in a classroom: dustless chalks, less wastage of paper, great. No plastic, okay. Make them grow a plant. Could be materials as well, I see. Recycling, reusing, all great responses. Thank you for sharing. Thank you so much. Great to see so many responses here. So yeah, if we come to the basics, green infrastructure in a classroom could mean natural lighting and well ventilated classrooms to begin with, and then a lot of other things that our participants have shared. So that's one thing. Another is pedagogy, which is essentially localizing the environment education that you're imparting. So if you're a school in Delhi, you might want to discuss heat waves with your students. But if you're a school in Chennai, cyclones or heavy rainfalls is something that you would want your students to discuss more and probably let them know how they can adapt to the changing environment around them. So pedagogy is real and it's rooted in their everyday lives. The third thing is behavior in a clean classroom. So environment education, of course, is not just information, it's not just theory, it's also about the habits that we're building in ourselves and in our students. Tiny example of a behavioral change could be having two separate dustbins in a classroom for wet and dry waste, and then you as a facilitator, teacher, educator, leading by example. So you are throwing the waste in the correct bin, and the students will follow your suit. So it's a tiny behavioral change that goes a long way. I visited a classroom once, and students over there had put small nudges on switchboards saying, switch off the light, switch off the fan when you leave. And these tiny nudges go a long way in building behaviors. And the last thing, of course, is student engagement in a green classroom. Students need to be active, take part in whatever action-oriented activities they can do. And I will just close this answer with a small example. There's a school in Kerala where students undertook a survey on the mobility practices in the school. So they had everybody in the school, all the teachers, all the students, fill out a survey to tell how they come to school. They did a brilliant analysis of it, and they found out how many people use private vehicles, how many use sustainable motor, how many use non-polluting, and then they made active plans to reduce the use of motorized transport and private vehicles. So this is how you also engage in your journey and make your classroom a green classroom. So any classroom could be green. It's just the way it looks. It's just the way stuff is taught in there and how everybody behaves in there.
I simply true that simplicity done consistently can be revolutionary. Certainly, yes, I do agree on that. Ms. Devika, can you share a student-led sustainability initiative that had a long-term ripple effect?
You asked me a very difficult question because I have to talk about something that is happening all over the school. We have more than 2,000 learners in JVCN,
Yeah.
Borivali. And I would like to talk about something that has been going on for quite some time. Our learners every week uh, go out to clean the beach. So we have beaches in Mumbai and they definitely need cleaning. And there are great
Oh,
people all
nice.
over Mumbai who are involved in this. And for the past many years now, every week our learners, especially the middle school learners, go out to clean the Mumbai beaches. We also have a national park close by, and the Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Our learners go out to clean the national park. And that has been something that has been going on for many, many years. The first thing that we noticed is that when we talk too much about the environment and why we need to take care of it, it starts causing a little bit of anxiety, and there is a little bit of worry about the future that comes in the minds of the children. However, the only way of tackling that is perhaps giving them the power to change one step at a time. And when they started going and cleaning the beaches, we found immediately on the same day when they were coming back on the buses, they were very, very conscious about even a single wrapper. They started talking about why they should not be throwing anything outside, why they should always ensure that there is segregation of waste. In Sanjay Gandhi National Park, our learners, they started going and talking to the inhabitants and talking to them about segregation of waste in these areas. There are small settlements there. Our learners took up the initiative. We now have schools there, partner schools, where our learners go out every week to talk about the environment and why environment consciousness is important, which has led to the understanding that there is need for libraries and books in these areas.
Yeah.
Our learners and teachers have started drives, and I'm talking about many years now, where we collect pre-loved books and we have set up libraries there. Our children go and do reading programs. So the ripple effect is just going on and it is becoming bigger. Instead of just going and cleaning the beach now, they are talking about all the other ways in which the environment can be supported through small initiatives in the school. They have started making things with old, like Vandana was saying, that used denim clothing. They started making bags. They are selling it during certain events in school. They are taking the proceeds of that, and then they are going and helping the people who live in the Sanjay Gandhi National Park, certain communities that need a little bit of financial help. It has just grown, it has evolved. Now it's not just about the children and the school. We have parents who are volunteering. There are groups who come and talk to us about why this whole initiative needs to become bigger and stronger. And it's just going on and on. The ripple effect is amazing. And
What
it,
a beautiful, I would
yeah,
say, what a beautiful story of students voicing
huge now.
actions and creating civic action, basically.
Yeah.
Yes, great, great. Very inspiring, I would say. So, Miss Vandana, what kind of mentorship or scaffolding do students need from teachers to lead sustainability projects independently?
So we believe that first of all, what I was saying, that we have to lead with example. Teachers definitely need a lot of guidance to move beyond intellectualizing everything to doing it. I'll share examples, like our students have started walking club. We are in an area where a lot of students used to come by their own vehicles and cars, and they used to come from an area of not more than 1 kilometer away from the school, where few of our teachers said, okay, fine, we'll walk with these kids. So they started walking with these kids, and slowly the parents get involved into it. So they said, we will walk. So now there is group of students who walk, where senior students take the junior ones from the same locality, and there could be a teacher with them or a parent with them who's walking with them. So largely these are small things which needs to be done, and where teachers need to be getting involved in terms of what they believe very strongly. For a school to allow teachers to take these initiatives in their classrooms beyond the curriculum, giving that space to teachers to design each classroom the way they want. Would a teacher want to bring a plant in the classroom and water it every day because she loves the plant? Naturally lets the children children look at it, and they start doing the same, and they ask questions related to that, and they develop in. Similarly, a teacher walking. I walk every day to my school, and if I have students coming on the way and they talk to me and saying, "Why are you not coming in a car? Why you walk?" The simple example is that it's healthy for you. It's a healthy way of living. You don't need to use a vehicle if you're not far away. So these are few things which teachers do get involved into, and that's the kind of support leadership team needs to give them, by they bringing what they believe is right and connecting it to some aspect of a sustainable form of learning and a green form of learning.
Correct. So that's simply an example of leadership in the making. Great. So, Ms. Dishita, what patterns have you observed in how students' leadership in environmental action differs across urban and rural settings?
Hmm. I think the heart of it, whatever environmental leadership students are doing, whether they're in an urban setup or a rural setup, the intent remains the same. I think the intent is to bring about a positive difference, perform some kind of positive environmental action. So that core value, I think, does not change. It's the same for both the groups. But what is different indeed is the context of both the groups, because ours is a national network. At Green Schools program, we work with both kinds of groups, and what I've observed is that the way they tackle a particular problem is different on account of their context. So if I could take an example here, let's say water. So in a rural school, I would see students maintaining a water diary. So they're writing how much water they're using in each of the activities every day. So they're making a log of it. They call it their water diary, and they're tracking how much water they're using at home or in school, so that they could cut down on their consumption. There's a very famous saying that you can't manage what you can't measure. So you first need to know what you're doing in order to improve it. So students in a rural school might be managing a water diary and, simple hands-on approach of saving resources. In contrast to that, in an urban school, I know of a school in Noida where students have developed a water consumption tracker. So it's an online app where you could enter your water consumption, and it would tell you your per capita per day consumption, whether or not it's within the limits. So this is the contrast I'm trying to portray here, that the intent is absolutely the same, but probably the way of doing it, the kind of leadership is different. One of the groups is using tools because they have access to it. The other group is using an approach that's deeply rooted in their realities, that does not care about rural or urban, and that's climate change. It's a great equalizer, as our Director General Sunita Narayan says. Rich or poor, urban or rural, everybody is affected by climate change. So that's a space where all kinds of environmental leaderships unify, I think. And students in urban schools, rural schools, they're all working towards it in their own ways. So yeah, I think tools and tactics might differ when it comes to environmental leadership, but that intention to care and to lead remains the same.
Correct. So these are the diverse approaches to united intent. Yes, I truly believe that. And dear audience, your encouragement and engagement truly enriches our dialogue. So please feel free to continue posting your questions in the chat. And while we may not be able to address all of them during the sessions due to time constraint, but we'll definitely ensure that remaining queries are answered on the Cambridge Teachers of Tomorrow forum. So Ms. Devika, how do you ensure that eco consciousness isn't seen as a special event but as part of daily instruction?
Yes, that's a very important thing to focus on, actually. At JBCN, we do believe that innovation is a part of life, and we have to constantly identify the problems in our environment, in our life, and try to see if we can do a little bit to bring about some change, find some solutions, because climate concerns into if we change our climate concerns into actionable solutions, only then will it make some sense, because then we are talking about something positive and urging our children to move in the right direction. I would like to share a few things that have been happening as a part of this. So, our science teachers and learners have started creating, for example, algae based CO2 absorption systems. This captures the CO2 emissions from vehicles and converts them into biofuel. That is one of the things that have happened in our innovators lab. And our innovators lab is accessible, in fact, to all learners grade 3 and above. Teachers support them. They work in groups. Sometimes they work as a group of teachers and learners together. They've also come up with smart IoT greenhouse systems using sensors to optimize water and energy use in greenhouses so that they can promote sustainable agriculture. They are also doing projects in school on hydroponics, soil free farming. We have collaborated with a school in Germany, for example, to figure out ways in which urban farming can be perhaps given a little more encouragement, especially in the schools. We have Our children have come up with AI-based weed and fertilizer bots. So they have actually created bots that can target weeds and optimize fertilizer use and reduce pollution, enhance soil health. There was another one. A group of children actually created a low cost air purifier. The cost of this air purifier was 2,800 rupees. And they came in and they kept it in my office for some time. This is an accessible, cost effective solution to reduce indoor air pollution. Our learners have come up with eco-friendly pothole repair material, which can be a sustainable and durable material designed to improve road safety and longevity. These are just a few of the things that have been happening over the course of the years in our school, and some of these have been patented. Children are actually going out to make change. So the word change maker at JBCN has become something that is highlighted by the fact that everything that are thinking about is based on a problem that they see and how they can bring about solutions. Even their research papers, which have been published in various journals, they have conducted studies on water pollution in various parts of Mumbai. And then they start thinking about and proposing certain solutions that can perhaps help our community. So,
Exactly,
some of the
ma'am.
things that are happening, yes.
Yes, because when green learning becomes organic, it definitely stays for long. Over to you. Miss Vandana, are there any particular pedagogies or philosophies you draw from, such as Waldorf, Reggio, or experiential learning, to teach environmental awareness?
Yeah, right from the beginning, we're being very conscious of bringing certain pedagogies, and two of that is Waldorf learning, because I myself have taught in a Waldorf school, so very strongly connected with the idea of how you need to be connected to where you are and the environment, and how you need to use these understandings of looking at historical changes and historical events and connecting them to your current day. So, Waldorf philosophy of art, bringing art very strongly in the curriculum and expressing through art is something we tried, because a lot of time not every student is able to immediately take an action. You would have some students who will be very outgoing, could be able to speak, make presentation, but not everyone. And for those students, art turns out to be an amazing way to express what they feel about learning, about environment, or also about what they get disturbed with when they see an environment which is not enough conducive for learning, not just in the school but also on the roads. So when our students see roads which are not very clean, when they see people being not using the sustainable ways of living, when they see overconsumption, a lot of material growth around them, there are a lot of students who are sensitive and gets affected. They are the one who use art as a medium, music as a medium, and that's what we bring in through the world of ideology. The other is experiential learning, where we as a school have, even though we are an international school, we've made sure that our students, right from grade 2 to grade 12, move to different parts of India for a week without walls. And we make sure that they visit such places where they see these kind of actions. As I said, we are in urban areas. We can do a lot of things within the school and around us. But if you go to a place like Ladakh or like Andamans or like Rajasthan, where you see people are living in difficult places, they're not a very easy places. What is it that they do to live? How are they being living a sustainable life, and maybe a better life than a life which is not full of material, which has constraints, but still they are enjoying their life? So we make sure that our children go to visit national parks, they visit harsh places of India, they experience those local contexts, they stay with the local people, and they learn the best ways of living beyond the ways which they already know, which exist around them, or beyond the ways which they read and see which we can do with them. And that really opens up their mind. And one thing I would definitely share what Tushita said, how they are trying to look at both the aspects of urban and rural schools. We are very conscious that we are an urban school. So it's important for our children to connect to rural schools and see their life and see how they have a natural way of sustainable living. We are trying to create a sustainable way of living. So when we connect them to rural areas, to rural schools, to far flung places, and we make them experience the life of these places, the schools of these places, that also helps them to grow as conscious citizens, who we believe would be living a more conscious and more sustainable life.
Yes. So that emotional foundation is what makes the cognitive learning meaningful. Correct. Thank you for this. And Ms. Tushita, are there teacher training modules or resources you have seen internationally that you'd like to see contextualized for Indian schools?
Thank you for that question, Dr. Singh. And I think my co-panelists have shared some brilliant practices and approaches. So maybe we don't need to look anywhere else. But then there are indeed several practices, approaches, and resources, I think, that can be adapted to the Indian context, to the local context. And I will try to be specific. So I'll name specific tools and resources in my answer to this question, because I feel that all the teachers already know the importance of teaching climate change to their students. They're already doing that. But where we are lacking as probably NGOs, civil society, government, is creating that pool of resources for them where they could educate themselves and then take it to their classroom. So I'll try to be specific with tools, and hopefully they'll be helpful to the group present here. So first of all, I think in terms of approach, project-based learning is something that works really well when it comes to environment education. And we're already practicing that in a lot of ways. But if I could talk about two programs here, one is the international program by Foundation for Environmental Education, which is the Eco Schools program. And the other is, of course, by CSC, Green Schools program. The motivation in both the programs is to have students at the forefront. Under eco schools, students identify a local problem, they work on it, they draft an action plan, and then they see it through. So that's how they're taking an active role in their learning. If I talk about Green Schools program, we offer an environmental audit where students go around the campus and they see how their resource consumption pattern is. So they would go and find out how much fuel their vehicles are using, how much waste is being generated in a month, what is the food situation like, where's the food waste going. So they audit the resource consumption of their campus, and then we give them a sustainability rating based on their practices. So such a project-based learning, I think, could be implemented in a classroom, and this is what is required when it comes to environment education. If I talk about tools and resources, I think it's about time we gave data and numbers their rightful place. So we should incorporate data as much as possible because it makes the problem real. You're observing different changes around you, of course, but when you look at numbers, you realize the extent of the issue. There's a very good simulation by Climate Interactive and MIT Sloan School of Management, which actually helps students understand how different policies impact global climate goals. It's more suitable for senior grades. I think somebody has a question in the question box as well for senior grades. Another great example is Model United States. A lot of schools in India are already doing it, but then it gives a very real flavor to students as to how global negotiations go about on climate and sustainability. So simulations like this. If I talk about data, Down to Earth, which is CSE's magazine, has a dashboard for extreme weather events in India. So it's actually a dashboard for all the states in India that lists how many extreme weather events have occurred in a particular area every day because of climate change. So if you take such a tool to classroom, you will actually be able to show your students that, see, we live in this state and this state is struggling with so and so extreme weather events. This is the situation we're living in, and this is where we need to find solutions. So that's how data is helpful. I can share all these links to these resources later. You can either write to
That
me
would be
or
really helpful for our audience.
okay, great. And then the last bit about tools and approaches is, of course, youth leadership. Very, very important. UN has something called Youngo, and there's a person in the audience, Isiri. Shout out to you. Thanks to this webinar, I got in touch with her after 5 years. She's a co-lead Youngo. Youngo is the youth constituency of UNFCCC. So if you're there, Isiri, please do share in the comments what your experience of being a youth leader has been like. We'd love to hear from you. So it's important students begin to participate in such forums, and we give them that exposure of public speaking, policy debates, and local advocacy projects. So it's about moving beyond textbooks and beyond classrooms. So I think I'll close my answer here.
Thank you. Now that we have come to the last segment where we'll be discussing a little more about the global goals and local actions. So, Ms. Devika, how do you introduce sustainable development goals to students without overwhelming them, especially at the primary level?
Yes, I think at the primary level, it is the easiest and the best time to introduce uh, all these various initiatives that happen across the school, because that is where the children are already enthusiastic about bringing about change and becoming catalysts and working together to create a world of peace and sustainability. And that is already a part of something that is happening in the school. One thing that I do understand is that young learners love stories. And that is the best place to start, I feel. We talk about various eco heroes, the stories of achievement that can perhaps enthuse and give them some direction. So we have so many different heroes working in different parts. They might be acclaimed, they might not be very well acclaimed. Our teachers and parents, they come together to talk about these stories. And that is when we start saying that if someone like, say, Hazik Kazi, who is the youngest appointee for SDG, can do something about life below water, so can you. Maybe in your small way, you can learn to be a water magician, or you can be a turtle tracker like Karthik Shankar. And these are the stories that the young learners really, really love. We have field trips, like Vandana was saying, our field trips and excursions are also designed in a manner that they can go and actually live and experience the lives of others who are so very different from them. They are probably used to the idea that in urban life you go and buy vegetables from a supermarket, or I'm making them understand that there is something very different that is happening outside our life in Mumbai. And that is where the whole story begins. The synthesizing of learning by creating story maps, bringing about illustrations about life of various, like I said, the heroes. These really help sustain. And I think the story idea is the one that works best for us. And finally, by the examples that we study, we take action ourselves and we become our own eco heroes. That's what we talk about. We also understand that the projects that we talk about in primary cannot be very long, drawn out ones. So we have short challenges. For example, it can be a 2 week challenge in primary grade 2, where you have to go and talk to 5 people, your friends or society, just to understand what is happening in their homes, whether they have two dustbins or they have one, and talking to people about understanding the need for segregation of waste, perhaps, or the use of electricity. It is small, but it is also something that is very valuable, and they start learning from there.
Thank you, ma'am. So, making students stewards of goals rather than just learners of them, that's a brilliant approach. And storytelling is yet another approach, which is very, very effective at any point of time. Thank you. Now, Ms. Vandana, we would love to hear from you in a specific example where global frameworks like SDGs were successfully connected with the local communities.
We connected with the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime. I'm sure right now it doesn't make sense immediately to say why drug and crime and climate, but that's a global initiative which worked very well, where our students started talking to policymakers and people working in UN and started understanding how. It's very important to be responsible right from a young age, and how you need to reach out to more people, especially because you live in urban areas. You have a little privilege attached to you because you have everything. When you have everything, how do you work towards it? Is something we started working. And as Tushita was saying, United Nations MUN is a great initiative. We tried looking at United Nations MUN and connected it to the United Nations Office of Drug and Crime, where they started understanding why people move towards crime at first place. Where are the challenges in their personal lives, and how, by giving them small actions to work on areas of development with children at a younger age, giving them these small purposes and goals of, can you look at your area and make it maybe more livable? How do you create some resources and provide it to people who don't have it? Gives them those small purposes, and these purposes help people to see the life at a larger level and not get indulged into any such activity which leads to their own life being affected further. So even though it doesn't look at immediate connection to that of climate, but it does look at bringing a quality life to people. And people who are working towards quality life would definitely look at data which is available in front of them. They would get actually not just immediately affected with something, but they want to bring solutions to life. So when you have a data sheet which says that there is a climate which is affecting, there is the life of animals which is affected, you will only be moved when you know that your life is a little better. So how do children, especially the kids who are growing up in these urban areas who have a little more privileges, start connecting to deeper meanings of life in a very small way and talk about it, discuss about policies, discuss about how these are the aspects which need to be looked at. And lastly, how do they create resources? Not just they accumulate whatever is in front of them or talk or create awareness, but how do they create resources? So when they make a project, do they document it, and then are they sharing it with people who can actually reach out to larger? So sharing it with UN office to say, okay, now we have created these small resources of creating awareness. Can you share it where it's not there? That also help them to start feeling empowered. So when youth feels empowered, that their reach is increasing beyond their school or beyond their community, and they are trying to they can now through these UN offices reach to the whole world. They become more motivated to take those small actions which we guide them towards.
Thank you, ma'am. And now my question is to Ms. Tushita, that which countries or system have inspired you in how they approach global to local environmental education, and how are you bringing that home?
Thank you. I would just like to respond to some of the comments in the chat box. I will share all the links that I mentioned in my previous answer with the organizers, and they will share it with you. So thank you for that. And to your question, Dr. Singh, I think, in my opinion, the most impactful approach in any country to tackle environment education, to make local impacts while still talking about the global picture, is curriculum integration. And by that, I do not just mean limiting ourselves to textbooks, but a bigger change, which is at the massive level. So making climate change and sustainability a formal integrated part of students' learning. This is the space where we get to talk about global goals on, let's say, if I take an example, preserving life on land, which I think is SDG 6, if I'm not wrong, or climate change or air pollution. And at the same time, you're able to talk about local actions that you could take. So a class is a space to do that. So this is why curriculum integration is the best way to go about it. Italy as a country was the first one to make climate education compulsory across all school grades. And this was back in 2019, 2020. Um, which was, I think, a much needed move. But climate education is the operative word. And since then, many countries have followed suit, like UK, Finland, France, and they've also made climate change education compulsory. These are all global north countries, but Cambodia is one country which is global south, and it has also made climate education compulsory, and it's making huge strides. If we talk about India, what India is doing, in India, environment education has been mandated by the Supreme Court since 2003. So climate education is not compulsory, but environment education is in our country. It's taken us a while to implement it in schools and colleges because this was back in 2003. But what National Education Policy in 2020 and National Curriculum Framework in 2023 have done is provide impetus to this whole initiative of making environment education mandatory. And we are making great changes. So the focus is shifting that way. And these frameworks talk about environment as an integrated subject. So it does not have to be limited to science as other countries are doing. It's woven across different subjects. So an English teacher can very well teach about climate change through a story. Air pollution is not just limited to science, let's say. Or if you're teaching certain mathematical concepts about measuring weight, you could very well incorporate waste management. I'm sorry. You could help students understand how much waste they're generating in a week and how can they reduce it. So the examples are endless of integration, and that, I think, is the way to go about discussing global goals while on being on a local level. So, for example, if you're teaching fossil fuels, you can discuss renewables like solar panels, you can talk about emissions, and you can, in fact, take students to your school if you have solar panels, or a nearby institution where they have solar panels, to understand this business of how clean and affordable energy is being provided. So very, very local, but then connected to an issue of global relevance. Then another thing I think which we can take inspiration from other countries is their emphasis on student agency and giving them solving situations. So students, let them lead their own learning, as I've been saying, have them do environmental audits, have them propose solutions, have them work on different projects, and even encourage them to engage with local authorities. If our environment education is not ending with action, we are probably missing something. We're probably missing a step, because awareness is the first step. It can't be the last. The last step has to be students doing something out of the knowledge we have given them. Right. So while I think the inspiration is global, the application is very, very local. It's rooted in what's real, what you see around you, and what's meaningful.
And that's beautiful. Before we protect, we must appreciate. So that is definitely there. And I truly agree. And the examples that you have given here. So obviously, now let's take some live questions from the audience. I'll just read out. So the questions are there from Saurabh, that how do we initiate consciousness amongst the senior grade school based on creating clubs or sessions? So any one of you can take this question.
I can perhaps start, and then, of course,
Sure. Sure, ma'am.
we do have a culture of clubs in our school, and it was started by teacher-led clubs. So many years ago, when we started clubs, we decided that these are the areas where we really want our children to focus on, and they became teacher-led clubs. But after a few years, we realized that the real action has to happen from the learners, and they are the ones who have to lead it. Now, in our school, what we do is every year, in the beginning of the year, we ask children, especially the secondary children, to float their ideas for clubs. And then they can decide that these are the ideas. They have to present their ideas to a panel of teachers. The panel asks them all types of questions, and we ask really difficult questions. How do you sustain the club? Is it that your end goal is? What will be the outcome? How long will you need? What sort of projects are you planning to do during these clubs? And that is how the panel finally comes up with a list of, say, 10 or 12 clubs that are totally learner led. There have to be minimum two learners who lead a club. We also want them to understand that collaborative action needs to start from them. And then once they decide that these are the clubs, we ask them to go around and talk to other learners to promote the club idea and see how many of their friends would want to join it. We see slowly that they start thinking about it. Started with things like adventure club and football club, and however it suddenly became deeper when they went into the whole discussion about what is the outcome, because that's the question that the teachers ask them. If you run this club, what is it that you would do at the end of it? So now we have, in grade 5, learners are coming up with the idea of inclusion club. And I was intrigued when the teachers came and spoke to me that the grade 5 learners want to do this. And I do realize that at the end of the day, when the ideas are generated by the learners, like my fellow panelists were saying, then the ownership becomes real, and the understanding and the learning becomes deep. So that's how we have started doing clubs in
Oh,
the school.
so true, ma'am. So true. Yes. Thank you. Now we have next question from Rahila Jabin. Please excuse me if I misspelled. Uh, the infrastructure of international schools nowadays is incomplete without air conditioners, which emit more of greenhouse gases. What can be done to convert greenhouse gases into a useful one?
I think I would take that because we've done some work on it in our school. So
Please.
our school also is a fully AC school. How we started looking at bringing a change here is there was a discussion again in the environmental club, which was led by grade 11 and 12 students, to say we've been consuming a lot of electricity and we've been using a lot of AC. They started with teacher giving them a project of electricity consumption, and it moved to a level where students said what can we do about it, and encouraging them then to say, okay, can we have a 1 hour without AC, and the windows can be kept open. So we are fortunate that we do have windows. And now what we do is that during the whole academic year, There is time when there is a hour which is devoted to open the windows, and there is no AC at that time. Similarly, the same kind of initiative was taken by teachers where they say, okay, we are waiting back in the school from this hour to this hour, and we don't want AC. So the ACs are stopped, and they were started opening the windows and using the fans for it. Beyond that, what we also started looking at is guiding students about how do you create a green belt around you. So around your classroom, inside your classroom, if there are plants, and if you are watering those plants on daily basis, we created some kind of plant structure around them which makes the place naturally less hot, so they don't feel the need for AC when they open the windows. So these are few initiatives which we have started taking in our school. So we reduce the number of hours where we use AC. We shut down the AC during monsoon season where it's comparatively much better than the summers in Mumbai. We don't have, unfortunately, winter, so we can't do much about it. But as Tushita was mentioning, it's local. So it's a lot to do with where we are and how we can take these initiatives within our structure to reduce some consumption of ACs or electricity or any such form of difficulty which we are facing because
Right.
of the.
I would just like to add to that. Thank you, Vandana ma'am. I'd just like to add to that that you can actually make micro innovations in your school and classroom which do not cost much. So, for example, in a classroom, you can ensure that sunlight does not enter directly by creating sheds. You can have creepers around the building so that you ensure that it's not as hot. You can paint the roof of the building white so that it reflects some of the sunlight and it's not as hot that you have to use air conditioner all the time. During the night, if it's safe in your school, you can ensure that there's cross ventilation in the classroom so that your electricity bill comes down when students come in the morning. So these are just some small ways of ensuring that you're not using as many resources, because the thing about greenhouse gases is once they are emitted, you can't take them back. You can't make them good. They are going to stay there in the environment for decades and centuries. So the best way is to reduce your emissions and counter them with good practices.
Thank you, Tushita, for guiding this.
Yes. Tushita, now this question I'm just asking on behalf of our audience that are there any professional development courses offered by Center for Science that teachers can pursue?
Yes, definitely. By my team only, Environment Education Unit at CSC. So Green Schools program, first of all, is free for all schools. We do not charge anything for our environmental audit or our sessions. As part of Green Schools program, we organize an online course on climate change for teachers. And it's a 4 week course done on Moodle where we help teachers first understand the basics of climate change, different climate negotiations and what's going on in the world, and then how they can take it to classroom. In addition to this, we also have a lot of knowledge building sessions that we do round the year. And for that, the school has to register with Green Schools program. It's as simple as that, and they'll start getting email updates regarding all of our initiatives. So I've put my website in the chat box actually, GSP website. You can visit it and see if you find it helpful.
No problem. And now we have next question from Narcis Zera that I want to do a course to understand the Cambridge curriculum. Can you suggest? So I would say, Ms. Zera, please visit our website and you will get your answers. So what a truly enriching conversations we had. And to all our viewers, thank you for tuning in. And to our brilliant speakers, Ms. Devika Chatterjee, Ms. Vandana Arora, and Ms. Tushita Rawat. Thank you for showing us how education can grow green minds and greener futures. And to our educators watching, let us take forward the seeds sown today and make our classrooms places of hope, curiosity, and climate action. Thank you. And stay connected with us for more thought provoking sessions here on the Teachers of Tomorrow platform. Until next time, stay reflective, stay rooted, and stay responsible. Thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, everyone.